Welcome to Vitafriends Voices, a podcast brought to you by Vitaflo, where we will share your stories. Each episode will bring you engaging interviews with inspiring individuals who are either living with a protein disorder or are experts at the forefront of their field. Today's episode is a little extra special and festive because we're joined by Lorraine, the lovely voice behind the popular Instagram account Growing Up with PKU. Lorraine is mom to Hannah, now a teenager, who was diagnosed with PKU at birth. Over the years, Lorraine has found creative ways to keep the magic of Christmas and other celebrations alive, making sure Hannah never felt like she was missing out. Lorraine is here today to share her story, offer reassurance to other parents, and pass on her top tips for making holidays feel just as joyful and special, even with a metabolic disorder in the mix. So grab a warm drink and let's dive into this festive edition of the Vitafriends Voices podcast. So welcome to a very special episode of the Vitafriends Voices podcast, Lorraine.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
So maybe tell us a little bit about yourself and your family.
I'm Lorraine. I'm a mum of two. I have a daughter who has PKU. She's my youngest, Hannah. That was a lovely surprise. My eldest doesn't have PKU, so a lot of it has just been about balancing, having one with PKU and one without, really.
And we'll go into a little bit more detail about that a little bit later on. But maybe let's go back to the first Christmas where you really found that Hannah experienced the magic of Christmas. What was that like?
Well, it was lovely. I mean, she was just a normal toddler, and the magic of Christmas, particularly having an older sibling, it becomes so exciting. There's so much to look forward to. She loved it. She loved Christmas. She still loves Christmas. So yeah, it was really, really nice to, I suppose, adjust things to accommodate for PKU, but not, change everything. It didn't have a huge impact.
Oh, which is excellent. So maybe just explain what you did to still make her feel special despite of her dietary restrictions.
Well, I think we've always told her she has a special tummy. She has special food. We've always tried to make everything that she has to have special for her. And so it's more a case of being prepared. So organising yourself well in advance for Christmas, having cakes in the freezer that you can quickly ice, decorate with Christmas decorations, just to have the things there ready to go so that she didn't ever feel like she was missing out on things. And sometimes it would be a different thing that she'd be eating, but it would still be a special thing for her.
So you still made her feel included?
Absolutely. And it's things like we have in England boxes of sweets at Christmas. Most houses have these boxes of chocolates and sweets. And I realised that, if I got one of the plastic tubs from the year before and filled them with things that she could have, then she had her own. She never felt like, there's everybody else with their hand in the chocolates and I can't have any. We made sure that there were things in there that were, free for her to eat, and it was exciting. And, it's just finding ways to bring in your normal traditions in a low protein way.
So what would you put into these boxes?
Things like free sweets that are freely allowed. Or one year she really, really wanted a particular fruit snack. And she'd been saying, everyone takes these for break time at school. So I included those. And then they turned out to be absolutely hideous and she hated them. We never bought those again. But, it's things that she likes, that she doesn't perhaps have very often. Using molds to melt down low protein chocolate, wrapping them in pretty wrappers. I mean, we do live are in a really good time for PKU at the moment. Most supermarkets now will have small bars of chocolates that are perhaps less than half an exchange. And as long as we kept track of what she's eating and, what she took out of the box, we were able to incorporate that into her allowance, and it worked out really, really well. She really enjoyed it.
So a little bit of trial and error and looking into supermarkets to see or look for appropriate low protein or protein-free foods.
Absolutely.
Okay. So if we think about what Hannah's eating now, how is that different to what it was back then during, the holidays?
Now we're just so lucky. At Christmas time, you can walk into a supermarket, and if you want to make a cheese board, there will be so many different vegan cheeses that are low in protein and appropriate for her. You can make a whole cheese board with chutneys and olives, grapes. When Hannah was born, these things didn't exist. The idea of being able to do that was just completely alien. And, it's never lost on me that we have these options now. And things like vegan creams and custards, all of these things before had to be made by us at home. And now we can walk in, we can pick it off the shelf, you can make a trifle, you can have a fruit crumble and custard. And, I just think it's amazing. It's just brilliant how food science has moved on. There's just progress all the time.
And there's something so special about just being able to walk into a supermarket and pick something off the shelf, like you said.
Absolutely. When she was younger, that just wasn't an option, and we just never take it for granted. It is brilliant.
And I guess as a parent of a child with PKU, how does it make you feel?
Just thankful, really. Because when I think back to when she was younger, it was so much harder when you had to prepare every element. Now, at least if you're going to do a dessert and you want to do some custard with it, you don't have to make the custard as well. It just takes a little bit of the burden of the food preparation away.
And you talk a lot about food and perhaps recipes as well. Where would you go to for resources to help you get inspired?
I mean, now social media, there are so many brilliant accounts, step-by-step guides how to do things. And, it's accessible. Social media has made all of this accessible. It's made a lovely community. You get stuck making something, you reach out to the person, you have a chat about what they did. This is a really special thing now. But even when she was younger, it was just a case of doing the research. If I wanted to make something for her, if I had an idea, I would go online. I would see, tap into Google, low protein, whatever it was I wanted to make. And then, hopefully a recipe would come up. Or if a low protein recipe didn't, then you just give it a go with the low protein flour and see what happens. It's trial and error, really.
And you mentioned social media there and connecting with the community.
Mm-hmm.
You have quite a popular platform on Instagram, a very inspiring platform. Have you got anything planned for this upcoming holiday season?
I do. So we've already been to the supermarkets and had a look at what's available and got some ideas. Hannah and I did see something, and we had an idea that perhaps we can PKU that. Perhaps we can make a low protein version. So we're going to give that a go. So yeah, watch this space. Hopefully it works out.
Are you able to give us a little bit of insight into what that might look like or what it might be?
We saw some cookies that a high street retailer is making, and Hannah said, "Oh, they look so good. I'd love to try those." And I said, I think we can do it. I think we can make those. So that's our plan. We're kind of copycat and hope it works out. And obviously, at Christmas time, I do tend to post on social media all the things I find. There's no gatekeeping. I want everybody to be able to go and buy them and enjoy them. And so hopefully, I'm hoping that there'll be lots of nice new things for everybody to give a go at Christmas time.
Yeah, you're very good at inspiring others to cook new and wonderful foods. I've been inspired by you as
Oh,
well.
thank oh, thank you. I mean, I started the account for Hannah. She was feeling alone in it. She was feeling like, why am I the only person that has to drink this, and why am I the only person that can't have those foods? And I thought, if I started a social media account, then maybe a few people would follow, and she would see that she's not the only one. I did not envision it growing in the way that it has, but it is really lovely to be able to help people, to share our ideas, and just I get as much back from it as I give. It's lovely, and I guess one day Hannah will take over the account, and it will become her thing, and who knows where it will go.
Absolutely. And it's nice. At the moment, you're sort of the voice of the account and you run the account, don't you? But you very much get the impression when you follow you that you include Hannah in everything that you do, everything that you post. And I guess if a new parent has had their child diagnosed with PKU, what advice would you give them to be able to include their child in cooking, grocery shopping, preparing them to be independent one day?
I mean, we'd never hid PKU from Hannah. It's something that's part of her. She's going to grow up with it. It's never going to go away. So we just made it normal from the outset. And obviously, we talked about her special tummy that was appropriate to her as she was younger. Obviously, as she's grown up, the conversations have changed. We've talked more about protecting her brain and the importance of lower levels. And, she is really on board with it because, she does prioritize her health and her well-being. And then really from a young age, she was always in the kitchen with me. Once she was able to get hands-on and do things, she was there, she was doing it. She's come with me to the shops with our shopping list and her little trolley, and off she's gone picking things. And so, we've made reading labels just completely normal. I think it is really a case of normalize everything that the diet brings and approach everything with positivity. You know, I am a realist. It's not always easy. There's good days, there's bad days, and everything in between. But if you approach PKU positively from the outset, you focus on what they can have. We always focused on what she could have and almost ignored what she couldn't, didn't make a thing of it ever. And, as long as she had something, she didn't mind that it wasn't necessarily the same as someone else. And I think that's just kind of given her this feeling that it's okay to be a bit different. We're all different. She embraces it. She doesn't hide it. She's just positive about it. And I think it really comes from just making it normal right from the start.
Yeah, that's a really nice touch. Focus on what she can have rather than what she can't.
Absolutely. And Hannah herself says that she doesn't feel she's ever missed out. And she said, Mum, I think having a child with PKU is so much harder on you than it is with me because I always have something lovely to eat. And I don't feel I've missed out. It may not be the same as what other people have, but you perhaps as parents, we have traditions that we've grown up with over holidays. And for us, perhaps we perceive that they miss out. But, Hannah reassures me that, she's always just been happy with what she has, happy with what I've made her. And, I think, again, the positivity that we've had around the condition has made her feel included all the time. Just speak about it positively. I really think that, mindset around it is so important.
Yeah, mindset is a lot, isn't it? And it's also a testament to the hard work that you have done that Hannah is able to say today that, you know what, I feel no different. I feel included in everything that we do.
It is really lovely, and as a parent, that's all I've wanted. I've wanted her to grow up happy, healthy, and feeling like she didn't miss out on things.
And I guess for parents listening who might be worried that, you know, their child will feel excluded or not as special during the holiday season, what advice would you give to them?
I think my advice is to do what works for you. You know your child. You know their likes, you know their dislikes. If you can take their likes and make that into something that fits the season, and whichever holiday that is, whether it's Christmas or Halloween or birthdays, if you can still make the time special, and it's not and kind of not always about the food. So for us at Christmas time, there's been other things that have been part of the holiday. Trip to the panto or a steam train ride with Santa when she was younger. There's lots of things you can do that aren't just about food. But equally, for when you are focusing on the food, there's recipes out there. There's lots you can do. There's lots available in the shops. Don't panic.
But also, like you said there before, it's your perception as a parent. You know, it's you might think that, oh, they're not feeling special, but actually they wouldn't necessarily know any different.
No, that's it. That's what Hannah says, that she doesn't know any different. So the traditions that she's grown up with that are perhaps different to what I grew up with, but they work for our family. She doesn't feel she's missed out on anything. I mean, an example is that at primary school, they have a Christmas dinner every year, with crackers and hats, and it's lovely. And she couldn't take part in that when she was younger. And so she took a special packed lunch. And her packed lunch was themed red and green. So everything in there is red or green. And now that she's older, and particularly because she now has a therapy beyond diet treatment, she's at secondary school, she could have a Christmas dinner. I could speak to the catering staff and she could have a Christmas dinner. And I thought, oh, wow, that's brilliant. I'm sure she'll love that. No, I offered it to her and she said, no, I want my special packed lunch, my red and green Christmas packed lunch. And here I am now. She's 14 years old and I will make her a red and green packed lunch this year like I have done every other year. It's lovely that that's her thing.
It's her thing and it's your tradition as a family now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just become the thing that we do for Hannah for her packed lunch on Christmas dinner day.
Oh, lovely. You mentioned that Hannah is now on another therapy, not just dietary therapy. So I suppose if we compare her diet back then to what it looks like now that she's on BH4, what has changed?
She just has more freedom. She has some choices. And I think that it has come at the right time for her because she's 14 years old, she's a teenager. Life is going to change dramatically over the next 10 years. And having that little bit of freedom to be able to work her day around, say, having lunch out with a friend, these things are, important to her now. Had she not started BH4 treatment, we would make it work. But now it's just that bit of flexibility. That's the thing with PKU. You lose spontaneity. Everything has to be thought about in advance. Everything has to be prepared. And now I suppose that gives a little bit of it back to her. In terms of the things she's eating, she still loves the things she grew up with. She, her meals now allow for more exchanged vegetables and things like that. And that's brilliant because obviously her appetite has grown. But she wasn't unhappy before. And I think that's a really important thing to focus on. She had a really nice varied diet. And now she still has a really nice varied diet. She just is allowed to have more things like whole grains, lentils, beans that she now enjoys. But it has been a learning curve to introduce new things for her, psychologically accept that it's okay to eat those things as well.
And what's that been like for you as a parent?
It's been lovely. It's been lovely to see her be able to broaden horizons with food. But it hasn't been easy. There have been times where we've stood in the supermarket and she's just overwhelmed at choice. She doesn't know what to pick, But even now, 3 years into treatment, she's trying new things every week. And it's exciting. It is exciting. But just, different. And initially getting her to accept that it was okay, that it wasn't going, it's not a problem. You can eat these things, you can try these things now. Once we got sort of over the hurdle, it became a bit easier, and she's just really very thankful for being able to have something beyond just the diet that helps her have that bit more protein each day.
And if you were to prepare a Christmas dinner, what would your 3 top tips be for someone doing the same for someone with PKU, to include the rest of the family as well?
Obviously, there's lots of vegetables that can be included and eaten by everyone. So for us, it was very much about finding different vegetables, different ways to use the vegetables, and having them on the table and lots of choice, so that it still feels exciting. You don't feel, that Hannah feels restricted. Being prepared in advance. So, I would always, there was a specific thing that Hannah likes that she would have for her Christmas dinner, which is the leek and mushroom bake from our fake cookbook. And it was one of the earliest recipes I've made for her. And she'd always asked to have that for Christmas dinner. And so having that made in advance, sliced, ready to reheat, took any stress away. We had the lovely vegetables ready to go. We had that ready to go. The other thing that we've done as a family that's worked well is to have desserts that everybody could eat. So she felt included in that. She wasn't having something completely different to everybody else. So, for example, we'd make like a big fruit crumble, custard, or vegan ice cream, and we'd all be able to have the same thing. And I think that is something that is important to her. At birthdays, for example, I would make a low protein birthday cake and everybody would eat it. And I think that is really nice for her to see her foods accepted by people who don't have PKU. I just think it's a lovely way to show her that, there's nothing wrong with the things she eats. We can all enjoy those things together.
Definitely. We can all enjoy a low protein cake for sure.
When I make anything, I've got 2 taste testers. Obviously, I've got Hannah, but my husband's always there, ready to give anything a go. And, I don't get any complaints. He's obviously, quite happy to eat these things, and that's really lovely.
So do your taste testers always approve of your food, or?
Oh, always. Yeah, there's very rarely a time that it's not edible. We maybe not make something again, but we'll eat what's there. Because you do have failures. Sometimes you look at a recipe and you think, I can do that. And working with low protein ingredients is different. And sometimes it just doesn't work out. We have those failures, but laugh, move on. That's all you can do, really.
If you don't try, then you'll never know.
That's it. Yeah, if you don't try, you'll never know.
No.
It's always worth giving it a go.
Be adventurous, be brave, and then you'll probably succeed.
Yeah, well, that's what we hope.
No, I know that you share a lot of your recipes on your social media, and we've touched a little bit on this, but maybe just let everyone know where they can actually find you.
We have an Instagram account. It's called Growing Up with PKU. And we share recipes. We share life, the ups and downs of PKU, high levels, low levels, tribulations when foods get discontinued, we can't find something in the supermarkets, they change a recipe. It's all there. It's life with PKU whilst Hannah's been growing up with PKU.
And what's been the nicest part about having or creating the platform that you have created?
I think it's the support. As I said before, as much as I put into it, I get back. There is a really lovely community. Everybody supports one another. Just this year, we've been able to meet with 3 people who we initially contacted through the account. We have a PKU friend in Australia. We'd have video calls, and it just brings us all together. And it doesn't matter where you are in the world, we have this shared thing, so there's always something to talk about.
Yes, it's almost created this global community, hasn't it, where you're able to reach out as and when needed.
Yeah, you can reach out. If you need some support, there's always someone there. You have a recipe idea, but you're not sure how to go about doing it, you can run that past somebody. You've made something and it's lovely and it tastes so great that Hannah can't leave it alone. Put it on there. It's a really lovely thing. It's just such a nice global community of people who understand. They have that lived experience.
So perhaps just before we finish, if you were to do this all over again, is there anything that you would have done different in terms of PKU, special occasions?
Honestly, I don't think there is, because it is all trial and error. And it is all about what works for your family, for your child, or for yourself if you're the person with PKU. It's really about allowing yourself to pivot. If something doesn't work, then don't do that next year. But just enjoy the whole process. Don't let PKU become something that takes over, because it's a small part of what any celebration is, and there's so much more to it.
So trial and error, create your own traditions, and enjoy the process.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you very much, Lorraine.
Thank you so much for inviting me on. Absolute pleasure.
And to you, if you like this episode, please like and subscribe to this podcast and share with anyone you think might benefit from tuning in. Thank you for joining our vibrant community of Vitafriends. And for more information, please visit your local Vitafriends website. We look forward to the next episode.